Hello and welcome to the Bitcoin.Review podcast. The podcast where we fail at boringly reading the latest release notes and discuss project updates. So hello. I think actually the hello is now part of the intro, so I don't even know if I need to say hello anymore. So I'll just say hello anyways. We're here back. The price is falling even more. And the shitcoiners did this. I don't know what else these guys could have done. I mean, like, I'm honestly, like, if you ask me, like, to draw on a board the stupidest ideas they could come up with in which they would try to destroy this market, I would have not come up with anything past the 28K. I mean, it's just absolutely idiotic.
They're professionalizing, mate. They're getting better at it.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, the pros are definitely coming in, and we haven't even started.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, at least now we know that Plan B was accidentally right. 25% of the supply for the epoch was printed by FTX.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
No, it was that high.
No, I mean the previous comment that Plan B was accidentally right.
Oh, no. Let's just give it to the guy just because it's funny, since we're living in clown world anyways.
Dude,
right.
I'm going to predict the price without a demand variable.
Let me introduce
Don't
everybody
ask how
here.
that works.
Okay, so we have today Checkmate, Shinobi, and Odell. Checkmate, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, no, I'm a lead analyst at Glassnode. So I'm on the other side of Plan B, where I actually do the proof of work and make sure that the models make sense and rooted in some kind of mechanics. Background was civil engineer, used to design tunnels and very large holes in the ground, and now spend my whole day looking at Bitcoin price charts and on-chain data.
So nothing has changed. You're still staring at a big hole in the ground now.
Pretty much.
Okay, Shinobi, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm just some random asshole. I like to yell at Rodolfo for months on end until he implements things that I want him to implement. Speaking of which, when are we getting an HSM mode that has basic support for a Lightning node?
Well, Lightning is not Bitcoin, Shinobi, so I mean, I really can't help it. And our best, usual guest, recurrent, Odell.
MBK is still pretending I'm not the co-host. He finally gave me 10% of the podcasting 2.0 split.
It's so nice to have you as a guest, Odell.
I'm looking forward to him actually raising that to the proper 50%. And full disclosure, I will be less active in this conversation because I have the USA World Cup game in the background.
I mean, we all know that Americans can't play football, which they call soccer. So, I don't really even understand the point of watching that game.
Dude, Rodolfo, didn't you get the memo? The euro went below par with the dollar. It's soccer now.
Okay, fine. I'll take that.
Even as an Australian, they call it soccer over here. It's football. As soon as you go to... I lived in London for 2 years. If you call it soccer, you get kicked out of the pub.
Agreed.
It's a problem. Like, I mean...
It is a problem. They use their feet. Come on.
In Portuguese, it's futebol. So, like, it's football. It's a foot on the ball. The other stuff is handball.
Everything else is actually illegal in the sport. So it really should be called football.
Exactly. So a little bit of housekeeping here. We have the Bitcoin BlackFriday.org going. There's a lot of deals there. It's going to be fun. Actually, the best deal that I'm looking for is 80% off Bitcoin from all-time high is going to be on all week. So I really recommend buying Bitcoin on sale. I don't think you need the promo code for that. Maybe promo code Barry gets an extra 5% off too before the end of the week.
Shameless shill, Glassnode's got 40% off too. So for folks who are looking to understand what's going on.
There you go. Did you guys add it to the Bitcoin Black Friday?
No, but we should. That'll be going all week.
Yeah, just get your guys to contact us and we'll get it listed.
Easy.
Oh yeah, so maybe I should mention that on this opening too. The folks from Glassnode was very kind to give us data to add to BitcoinTreasuries.net, which is really cool. Now you can see all the hostage Bitcoin on wrapped Bitcoin listed there as an entity as well. And I think we have more stuff coming. And I think you guys are pulling our API now too, right? For some of the entities. So that's a fun little collaboration there. And it should be on the block clock. Glassnode is coming to the block clock. It's nice to see how many the plebes are accumulating, even though it's all magic nonsense, this whole chain analysis stuff. But we'll get there.
Astrology, mate.
Rodolfo, when block watch? Come on.
Oh, it's coming.
When block watch?
It's coming. What else? So the first software release here, it's more like a part of the housekeeping. That's why it's on the top there. Bitcoin Treasury is now you can create an account and you can actually contribute data to it. And if you're part of the organization, we can verify so that like we know that the information is coming from somebody who works at the actual entity. So that's a nice little thing. And the next one is binarywatch.org. This is also another little project we launched this week. So this project right now is just a bot on Twitter, but the website is coming. It's essentially, we have a server that checks Bitcoin projects, websites, binaries. So we check the binaries, we check the signature is kosher against the public key that was released by the developers at a prior time. And if the website is hacked and somebody replaces the binary with an evil binary, we have seen this before with Electrum.
It happened to Monero too, to like Monero Core or whatever they call it. Their main.
Oh, nice. Okay, so
their
there you
main
go.
implementation.
Very easy attack to perform because a lot of the websites don't get as much attention in security wise as their actual projects. So we hope to identify that quickly. We check a lot and post on GitHub. So there's a little bot that sort of posts there every, I don't know how many hours, but the checking is faster.
Thank you for this. It's fucking awesome.
And it's free. Yay. We should actually bug the guys from Sparrow for grants for beer.
Oh, dude, calm the fuck down. Get your panties out of the bunch.
What do you need from project maintainers to get more projects on there? You need obviously they have to have signed releases, which fortunately most Bitcoin projects are already doing. Like, how do we get more projects listed on there?
We need to find time. This is not open on purpose. We don't want the bad guys to know the intervals in which things get pulled or how we read the pages and things like that. So it's on purpose. It would be cool if somebody else does an alternative version of this with their own code in their own platforms, their own sort of infrastructure too, and they also checking.
I mean, the cool part is that anyone can verify the signatures themselves.
They should.
And that's what you should do anyway, but it's good to have like a watchdog out there that's actually like sounding the alarm if they see something's amiss.
I mean, and we wanted this for ourselves. We wanted to make sure that our websites everything is kosher, right? We have a lot of products and a lot of releases, so we have to pay attention to all this stuff. Internally, we get email if signatures don't match or anything like that. So it's kind of nice. And hopefully I'll have an RSS feed for that at some point. So there's going to be a website. You're going to be able to search the history of all the checks. And then when we have more time, maybe we start taking submissions from people that want to like say, hey, please check this URL for this binary with this signature kind of thing. And we add more.
Can you put a big banner up that tells people stop downloading wallets from the fucking Play Store? Like, go get an APK and learn how to click install so that you can actually verify the thing that's getting installed.
You know, in a way, I'm kind of like, it's scary out there because now we have a lot of like Python libraries. Well, really any language libraries also as targets. So one of the best things you can do is don't upgrade unless it's a security upgrade. Just don't upgrade, you know. I have like a server running here probably for the last 5 years. Like, it has not been touched.
Well, also just on the developer side, like stop doing the easy thing and just, oh, there's a library. It does the thing. I'll use that. Like,
yeah,
Bitcoin Core for a reason is insanely autistic about minimal dependencies. Write our own code to do the important stuff.
Yep.
And as annoying as that is probably for a lot of app developers, if you're going to be writing tools to manage people's irrecoverable digital bearer cache, maybe you should do that right or stop doing it.
Yeah, amen. It's you know, you see a lot in JavaScript projects where like, you know, people will load 50 sort of like, you know, it's all sort of like gobble up library base sort of thing. Like there's a lot of like patching together things as part of the culture. You see the wallet serializing, deserializing, like a private key. Like it goes through like 50 different libraries. That's kind of scary. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's all about incremental improvements, right? I think everything is sort of becoming substantially safer in the last sort of few years, but also it's a lot scarier too because there's a lot more attackers out there. So yeah, so follow twitter.com/binarywatchbot @binarywatchbot.
I just want to jump in real quick. Shinobi, the answer to your question from NVK is that he doesn't think people should verify and sideload their own APKs because he thinks they should use iPhone. What are your feelings on that?
I want to slap him like I always do when I remember the fact that he uses a cupped, locked, walled garden iPhone for shit. It's even worse than Android and the mess of complexity and different versions there. At least with Android, I can go make it do what I want to do. I can poke around in things. You just have to hope that Apple doesn't get pissy one day and take your Bitcoin wallet from you.
See, what the two of you fail to understand is that your phones are already compromised and remote accessible by both state actors, your carrier, and your bad guys, right?
Yeah, so let's separate the cell modem. Let's give the kill switch there. Like let me take the little closed blob and disconnect it when I want to.
But it doesn't disconnect.
But Apple still
You're dreaming, Shinobi. It doesn't disconnect.
They still own you, NVK.
It doesn't disconnect.
Completely own you.
All right, moving on. Electrs 0.9.10. Update dependencies, a bunch of them. Fix mempool fee rate formatting, configuring Signet P2P magic. Don't panic case of invalidating blocks. Do you guys use Electrs?
Nope. I'm a lazy son of a bitch still using Wasabi 1.0, just sitting on the same box as my node because I'm just lazy. I got really sick of keeping all the things running a year or two ago, so pare it down.
Yep. All right. LND hotfix release to fix chain sync bug. Emergency hotfix. Oh, that was the hotfix release for all the stuff that we talked in the last episode that they were following BTC-D.
Barack did nothing wrong.
He did nothing. Well, there's nicer ways of doing that, but I still very thankful that he did it.
I got Barack on Citadel Dispatch. It's a pretty great conversation.
I saved it, but I haven't heard it yet. What's the TLDR?
Well, he said at the end that he loves chaos and he's going to keep doing it.
Listen, I think it's important for people to realize that, because nobody needs permission in Bitcoin, better be from a guy that at least you can contact than a guy trying to actually steal your money.
Yeah, LND needs to get their fucking shit together. Like, come on. You have one bug triggered and, figured out, and literally right above that bug is another bug, and you don't notice it. Like, AJ just 3 days later was probably I can't speak for him, but I imagine was just okay, it's 3 fucking days later, and they still haven't noticed the second bug right above the first. I'm just going to open a GitHub issue hey guys, you have another consensus bug literally right above the last one on the same page.
Yeah, so I am very, let's say, conservative on this. I think it's idiotic to run alternative clients to Bitcoin Core. I think you should just run Bitcoin Core, deal with the fact that it is going to be a C++ blob on your rest of whatever thing you want to use. Accept that in your heart. And just RPC to Bitcoin Core. Trying to run consensus software that is of a different release group is asking for things to break.
Yeah, there's enough trouble just ensuring different versions of Bitcoin Core didn't screw things up between things, let alone a whole new code base that isn't even really maintained at this point.
Yep.
And it's a case of where you actually you need more than 2, right? You need 3 at least. If you were to have multiple implementations, you need 3, because if you've got 2, which one's out of sync? And then you've got the problem that's, trying to get 3 pieces of consensus software to talk to each other at the same time. It's a hard ask.
Lib consensus. Like, let's just get there.
People just need to accept they're going to have to run core. It doesn't matter how many 100 times better, like faster, say a lib Bitcoin is, people are not going to use it. Like, you're going to end up having a consensus problem at one point or another. Bitcoin has a very poorly defined consensus spec. The software is essentially the spec, so you're going to run into problems. It's almost certainty. So yeah, run core, kids. All right, Blixt. I think this is a wallet. Translations, lots of translations. That's nice. Available for macOS. They have more documentation, and they have now Taproot support. And the previous release, the new release has all wallets, include already created ones, now default to multipath payments.
I like how MVK just figured out it's a wallet.
Yes. Hey, listen, we were scraping here for news this week, okay? Because everybody's too busy watching the Bitcoin doom porn instead of releasing software.
So what you pulled Blixt from No Bullshit Bitcoin Update, right?
Don't know.
Anyway, Blixt is awesome. They just came out with the Mac app. They didn't have a Mac app before. I mean, I have not tested out the Mac app.
Well, give us the pitch. What's the pitch for Blixt?
There's very performant Lightning wallet on mobile. That is both clean and easy to use, but also for power users, it gives you a lot of functionality, which I like.
That's nice.
And then for the Mac implementation, I mean, after Zap stopped really getting developed when Mahlers and co. kind of focused on Strike instead, there really isn't a solid desktop Lightning wallet today. I don't really know of any. And Blixt is kind of filling that hole, at least on Mac.
So is it custodial? How do I open and just runs, or do I need to run a node?
It's a nasty, dirty wrapper for a little LND instance, like 90% of the mobile wallets out there. So just on that alone, no. Stop using LND. Stop just baking it into literally everything and giving Lightning Labs a de facto monopoly on Lightning protocol development. Use new things. Come on.
So what you're saying is that the goal of Lightning Labs is being sort of executed, right? They wanted to make a library that connects to their stuff and just works.
They want to be like Microsoft, where they just throw their shit into everything and dominate the adoption so that they can just dictate the direction of the protocol. It is cancer. They are a cancer on Lightning development.
So tell me how you feel, Shinobi.
Oh, I just want to watch their headquarters at night, of course, when nobody's there, just burn to the ground so that I can just smile in the darkness and in the flickering of the flames.
Well, I'm glad you have such light feelings towards it. So Nunchuk Android 1.9.20 released on Android November 11 and is now fully open source. They picked GPL.
I think this is a wallet.
Yeah, so Nunchuk is
Great
a
to see
wallet
them
for
go
people that
open.
don't know.
Great to see them go open source. I like the GPL license as the choice.
No, I mean, I was telling Hugo, right? I mean, there's no way anybody is gonna use the wallet if it's not at least source reference source, right? You need to be able
source
to
viewable,
see
yeah.
it.
So to the listeners, if you don't know, the basic overview of the GPL license, GPL v3 is people can.
It's a common license.
People can modify and distribute it. They can even monetize it if they want, but they have to keep it fully open. They have to keep it still GPL v3. They can't change the license.
But no. See, you forgot one aspect of it. They need the state to enforce that it stays open.
Well, that goes with all licenses.
You need the
state to enforce your closed
The only
license.
thing that's truly free open source is MIT.
Right. I mean, this is the crux of the whole argument.
That's right. It's either MIT or it's not open source.
MIT, you can do whatever you want with it.
Including closing it.
Right, including closing it. And what's nice about GPL v3 is if a big corp comes and takes your code and then puts it in their shit, it's It's an open source poison pill.
That's a big misconception, Matt. They can dynamically link it, and then what they do is they offer as a service with an API that calls all the crap that's proprietary. That's why Amazon, Google, and Microsoft make all the money on top of GPL and not the devs.
Well, they prefer MIT license. When they
Of
do
course.
this shit. It makes it more
Everybody
difficult.
does.
It's higher lift for them if you do MIT.
That's true free open source.
Well, anyway, you can't grandstand on this at all.
Oh, of course I can. That's how licenses work. Everybody gets to grandstand on it. Especially the people who do closed open source chain analysis websites and then open source their wallet and then complain about it. But anyways.
Wait, those guys with that full node tool that's like a million JPM or NPM dependencies that you just watch for minutes while you're installing.
Moving on. Let's go to Sparrow now.
Massive deflection. Anyway, the important point is that I'm glad to see Hugo and team open up their source. It is a fantastic wallet for my limited usage and very unique in the space. It's the only thing you can use MVK's new cards with.
Checkmate, have you tried Nunchuk yet?
No, mate, but I've got a tap signer sitting in my CoinKite wallet.
That's true.
The problem is I don't want to pay you buggers for shipping to get it from Canada to Australia. That's the pain in the ass. So I've got to wait till I have like a critical mass of enough cold card updates, enough desire to buy a block lock.
Just do it.
Or you just need to get some of that sweet VC money into Glassnode, and then you guys just
Mate,
expense
we're
it all.
self-funded. No VC money, self-funded.
Good for you. So next, Sparrow 1.7.1 wallet tab icons, Painium, hardware wallet and custom, broadcast premix transactions from Sparrow terminal, show address as QR code in terminal, change QR display density. Sparrow's great.
I think the previous update hadn't been out when we last recorded either with just Sparrow terminal, right?
Yeah, that's the one. That's why I didn't spend a lot of time focusing on this one.
Sparrow terminal is the big update there. He did a full.
Yes.
You can use the whole thing in command line now.
Yep. It's like the traditional command line interactive interface.
Yeah, it's a fucking awesome interface with all the same functionality. That guy's a machine.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to not have contributors, that's the other side of the coin there, because then it's just your vision, right? They can tunnel in sort of like code the thing they want to see in the world.
I told you that story in Miami, right? Where I was like, how can I help you get more contributors? Like, please, Matt, no.
It's nice if that's your kind of thing to have a Whirlpool client that actually works, unlike Samurai's mobile app.
That was the same with Doc Hacks. I'm like, don't you want more people? No, please. Let me work. We actually had to close issues. It was a nightmare.
Just let him keep doing his thing because it's working.
We actually have a very good guy who's now sort of full-time working with Doc Hacks on the Cold Cards firmware. We just don't advertise our people. It's not good for them. Strike now supports sending to back32M addresses. That's good. Finally, you can send to SegWit. No, wait. Back32M is Taproot. That's great. Specter DIY 1.8.0 build process is now reproducible. Hardware wallet now supports Taproot specific PSPT files. All internal key wallets are currently supported, but support is coming for the rest. Yeah, well, that's nice. One more wallet is reproducible. That is like the single best thing a wallet in the space can do. Now they work for Swan. Surprise is not Swan Specter wallet.
Give it time. I predict white labeling will happen, but hey, I do have to say this though. Out of all the DIY hardware wallets out there, at least they are sticking with a known microcontroller. They actually have the ability in some form to use a secure element card. Like it's at least putting in the effort to be more than here's a Raspberry Pi with a logo on it.
Yeah, I mean, Raspberry Pis are garbage and nobody should use them for anything related to security. Shit, you shouldn't even use a Raspberry Pi for fun. It probably make you sick. And it also costs a lot of money nowadays too. All right, talk about Raspberry Pis. Trezor version 22.9.3. Coin control for Bitcoin. Optionally display Bitcoin amounts in Satoshis. Well, that's good they have an update. Fully noded. Version 0.2.3. Create single sig taproot wallets with ease. BIP86. Private keys are stored on the node which you are enter password to encrypt them. Interact with wallets which do not exist on the active node. Man, this is definitely translated from French. Send to wallet button on the send view, which allows you to easily generate receive addresses from all wallets regardless of the wallet node is active. Okay, there's a bunch of them. I'm not going to read them all.
Okay, do they has he actually finished tap signer or Sats card support? Because I feel scammed after Miami.
I think he finished the cold card NFC. I don't think he even started with the cards.
I feel scammed. I feel completely scammed. I had a free tap signer. I had a free Sats card. I donated them to the cause. Where's my support? I was scammed.
Well, you know who to contact. All right. Wallets of Satoshi, Matt's favorite. Integrated btcmap.org for physical merchant and ATM data.
Wallet of Satoshi's custodial, you're either going to get shotgun KYC'd or rugged at some point. Let it be known.
So the BTC map thing, I went to look into the merchants there, but there's a lot of stuff that's either scam or fake. I'm sure it's not the maintainers who added that stuff, but I think the scammers went in and sort of polluted it.
That's the problem with all these things, particularly if you don't update them. Half the time you walk into a store and they're like, what is Bitcoin? They have no idea what you're talking about because for 3 weeks in 2015, they accepted Bitcoin.
Or it's like, welcome to your kidnap scene, sir. Oh, you came to buy Bitcoin with a lot of cash? Please come in and never come out.
If you do one of these maps, it needs to be heavily curated. Otherwise it just becomes more of a pain than it's worth.
That should just be something that locals completely independently maintain, a local map with things that they can actively pay attention to and keep up with and just aggregate that. Not just a single thing that you can openly submit shit for from anywhere.
Yep. All right, so Robosats, new navigation, new coordinator mode, mainnet and testnet switch on Android, the new turtle mode chat. Matt, you know this project. You want to give us some notes?
Which project are we talking about?
Robosats.
Oh, I'm watching it's still 0-0 in the USA game.
Yeah, it's US is playing soccer, Matt. Of course it's going to be 0-0.
Robosats is awesome. It's a way to do P2P Bitcoin trading. They're just iterating on top of it. And what's really cool is they have a business model. They take a cut of the transactions, so they're sustainable. And they're not trying to make the most robust offering, something like Bisq, where Bisq is trying to be super decentralized, and they have the DAO, they have all this different stuff. This is a centralized platform. It's just run on Tor only by NIMs, and they take a cut. So it's just simple and pragmatic, and it works, and it's Lightning only.
Good. All right. Alby. Support to use Alby extension with core Lightning nodes. This means Alby extension now supports all major implementations, and I forgot to mention that's version 1.19.0. This is a browser-based thing, so be careful, but it is cool.
This, though, I really like. I actually met some of the guys working there down in San Salvador, but with LN support, I really like the potential for a thing like this because you can just give it a single account on an LN Bits instance. So you can just put your $5-10 in an isolated LN Bits account, and then the plugin only gets access to that account. So you can severely limit the amount of money that it's able to spend. And I think that is huge in terms of security for browser based stuff like this.
It also makes it easier to Uncle Jim it, like to run an LNbits instance for friends and family, which is really nice. I think like in this middle ground of adoption phase, we're going to have a lot of that, at least until we make it easier for people to do so in a more sovereign way. Also, Alby, when you do startup, they give you so many different options of different ways to connect to Lightning. And I thought one of them was pretty clever. They offer an easy like custodial wallet, which obviously they take all the custodial risk and regulatory risk, but they also let you easily link it to Blue Wallet's custodial wallet. So they just like offload the regulatory and rug risk to a completely separate custodian. That setup's really easy. But I think the bigger risk with this browser wallets isn't necessary. Obviously, you have the fund risk because it's a hot wallet in your browser. But the bigger risk is Alby has basically full read access to every website you go to. And it's a Bitcoin-focused extension. So that scares the shit out of me. I think if you're going to use it, you got to use it on like a dedicated web browser that you use for nothing else.
Hey, guys, I think we have a new all-time low.
Woo! Let's go.
What are we at? Oh, the USA just scored too. Wow, beautiful goal.
When 12K.
I think we got all the way down to 15589.
Did DGC blow up yet?
Oh, dude, those guys can ride this stuff all the way.
No, they can't. They're fucked, dude.
Yes, they can.
Yeah, man, they're printing, what, $200 million a year?
Dude, they're fucked.
When are we going to liquidate Sailor? When is Sailor getting liquidated?
Matt, guys of that nature, they have other alternative means of resolving margin calls.
Just to keep in mind to the listeners, we're recording this at the 36th minute of the USA game. By the time you listen to this, NVK's comments are going to age horribly.
Yeah, well, no, they won't. We'll be at 12K. We'll be at 12K by then.
No, I'm talking about DGC. DCG.
Yeah,
Digital
DCG.
Currency Group. I just said DGC twice. Yeah.
DCG blowing up would be cosmically karmic, right? But like, I don't know, man. I'm just too cynic to imagine that.
They got addicted to cheap external capital and fucking liquidity dried up. They can't get any money. No one's going to give them money. They can't even fucking loan money right now.
Yeah, but Barry's got the bucks. They can use Barry bucks.
Dude, they just wind down GBTC. Like, done. They own a shit ton of it.
Well, I think it comes down to like which one's more profitable, right? Do they just run, like, do they let Genesis go under or do they let Grayscale go under, right? And Grayscale is going to be the more profitable business, right? You just stick a bunch of Bitcoin there and just skim 2% off the top.
Yep.
Genesis owes Grayscale money.
Go figure it out.
They owe DCG money, don't they?
Or Genesis, Genesis owes DCG
Genesis
money.
has stock, has shares on GBTC.
They were doing this whole clown world bullshit trade with 3 Hours Capital, and they're fucking in the hole. They're massively in the hole.
Well, that was where BlockFi's yield came from.
Yeah, and I think that's the important part here is, I mean, at least from my knowledge, GBTC is relatively unencumbered, but there's a whole bunch of entities who own the GBTC and they're fucked.
Including DCG.
So essentially what we can expect is exactly.
And
so we can
technically,
expect
like,
that discount to get nasty.
You know, Bitcoin shouldn't care if people are dumping GBTC, but unfortunately, that's not how markets work.
They were not humble, and they're about to face the consequences.
They did stack sats, though.
A lot of sats.
They stacked a lot of stats, but they missed the first part.
You know,
They weren't humble.
They were just, I think, 5% shy of having more coin than Mongox. Not even 3%.
All I can say is they dodged. The Ethereum community dodged a bullet for a short time frame if they have to disband their ETH version of GBTC, because like if you had DCG as like one of your main stakers, I mean their current situation's already fucked, but these ETFs or these closed-end funds, whatever, if we ever get ETFs, like they're going to dominate the staking side too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, I keep on saying this. Ethereum is essentially a state-run prison, right? If you're staked in it, you can't get out, and is OFAC compliant.
It's over 80% as of this morning, too.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Dude, stop throwing Ethereum under the bus, okay? It has a very, very noble goal and end purpose. It's going to replace COBOL at the banks finally.
I prefer COBOL. It's more stable.
No LND pro Ethereum makes sense.
You guys would love to know this. Through the commercial UI for sending wires, when I log into the thing, you cannot put commas on the address field. It doesn't support commas. So that's the banking infrastructure.
Wait, API? I still have to go in and fill out a piece of paper.
you can do it through the web if you get like the commercial banking thing, but it's surprising and it feels scary when you're inputting in those fields. It's a 90s UI for a 60s program with JavaScript over it, just in case.
How can you be scared by that? Just put in the number, double check it. It's like a Bitcoin address, except you can claw it back.
Yeah. You can, they can claw back. You can't. You try calling BlackBerry Wire. See how long it takes. Anyways, so new and noteworthy. I had this tweet from Dylan here. Why couldn't a multi-billion-dollar firm, Chain Analysis, find the coins for FTX? Which is very true. I mean, if they are claiming to do what they can do and be worth what they are worth, they should be able to find it. I was very, very curious to have Checkmate give us some commentary on this specific issue here.
No, it's an interesting one. And I think the first thing to do is that there's two kind of breeds of on-chain analytics. There's the stuff that we do over at Glassnode, which is kind of more the macro indicators and, looking at actual trading signals and things like that. Looking at, I call it the economics, right? The behavioral economics of Bitcoin. Then there's the forensic side, which is what Chain Analysis does, right? And they're in the weeds, actually. I mean, much of the back end, the data science side, is similar, except the end goal is very different. So, and obviously that will come out in the implementation. What we're doing in terms of the end goal is, creating market intelligence. What Chain Analysis is doing is trying to find individuals, unpick realistically fraud, things like this. And there's been a few people who've said, why didn't we pick this up? It's like, well, the data, if we look at the actual exchange balances for FTX. So FTX always had very, very strange and unique wallet management. They had a whole series of peeling chains. They didn't use hot wallet infrastructure like, you see elsewhere. Cold wallets. I mean, that's the thing, right? What we do is we look at the heuristics. We observe how the exchange performs, right? How do they manage their wallets? And then that goes into the entity algorithm, which basically goes and finds other chains that look, or other peeling chains that look just like this one. And then you start bringing them into the cluster, see how they interact. Now, the problem is that if they don't ever, if these wallets don't intersect with each other, you can't cluster them together, right? So what we basically saw is it come into about May period of time, FTX balance really just started falling off a cliff, right? And as you came into June, both their BTC and ETH balances just dropped off a cliff, like 52% decline in overall balance. Now, the takeaway there is like, well, maybe they're doing some strange wallet reshuffling. Essentially you do need to go down the path of forensics of actually looking for, are these guys bad actors? So really that's where the two pathways kind of diverge, right? We've essentially got the balances to our best estimate. This is what they look like. When you're on the chain analysis side, that's where you go, well, actually, is this a result of actual fraud, right? Are these coins actually being misappropriated between these two entities? Then you can start inspecting the Alamedas. You'll find that what we do, we don't have individual trading firms, right, as a selectable option on Glassnode. We look at exchanges and miners, but, we don't have individual traders because that's, not what we do. That's where the chain analysis would have stepped in. And realistically, this kind of thing should have been on the radar, right? That's kind of the level of forensics that you need to look into. And, you can kind of see the magnitude of it, but hindsight's 2020, and you can kind of look back at many red flags. I'm sure you guys have thought about some and you go, shit, makes sense now.
I mean, all that is great, but the real answer is FTX was one of their largest customers. Money
I was
talks.
going to say that.
It's not even just chain surveillance, which is what they specialize in, but
probably investors too. It wouldn't surprise me.
Chain Analysis presumably had access to their deposit address set because they were actually providing a service to them, which was to spy on their users. So they need to have the information of when they deposit and whatnot. So Chain Analysis presumably had extra information that external actors do not have. And they turned a blind eye because they were getting paid big bucks. And they're just an evil corpse, so why would that surprise anyone?
Think about the reality of the dynamic between them, though. They kind of count on FTX to disclose all of that external or internal information related to accounts, deposits, individual unique user tags. I see a lot of room for them to have just been feeding bullshit to Chainalysis or doing things to throw them off, and they would have every incentive in the world to do that. I mean, like this all like it's hysterical. Like Terry, I forget his last name, from the CME group. Like there's an interview with him floating around about just calling out how FTX's liquidation engine and like structure was just insane, because it just counts on taking liquidated positions and assuming there is always a magic bag holder who will come along and buy them to smooth out the results from those. And as we saw from all of this, that was Alameda. Like, they just assumed they could just keep picking up the bags.
That's the thing, right? They were basically betting on it being mean reverting. And you get some kind of massive liquidation, it's then going to bounce, but then they got hit with Luna, which just didn't bounce. It just went down and down and down and down and just minced them.
But, one comment on that CME guy, like, I picked up, like, he was mentioning about the farmer on Friday, right? And, I think this is the unfortunate thing that we lose, with like a proper free market that runs 24/7, is that, you don't get to go to bed on Friday, right? Like if you have a pony on the race, like you're going to be there 24/7, right? There's no solution for that. The market is either it's either 24/7 or it isn't, right? And in a free market, it will be, because there will be enough people that want to trade 24/7, right? And, in time, CME won't exist. Like, I know it sounds crazy to say that, right? But realistically speaking, I mean, once you move to things that have less friction, are 24/7, like that's where the market wants to go, right? There is money to be made by people that want to gamble. It's not going to be farmers trying to defend the crops, right? That's sort of like one of the unfortunate parts of this whole thing, right? Like people are not buying spot, people are, gambling on perps. It's a very unfortunate thing. And I don't think it gets better.
That's always been the case, though. I mean, I remember when it was BitMEX, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2018 onwards.
This is why Stay Humble Stack Sats, part of the reason why I just broken fucking record on it, because like newcomers come in and they're like 100x long on BitMEX. Boom, done.
Max bidding, max leverage.
And then they just get fucking liquidated.
Max bidding. I look forward to the return of the spot market.
You haven't lived unless you've opened up 100x fucking long on Bitcoin.
Oh.
You don't know what living is.
Don't worry, Shinobi. Shinobi, I've lived. Like the humble part didn't get added there for, just because I was born that way. There was a while where
lesson.
Like, I mean, OK Coin Casino, the OK Casino, the wood chipper over there, I had too much experience with that. Fucking BitMEX, there was a while on BitMEX where I never withdrew. You would just top up the balance and then get liquidated eventually and then just add more deposit. I didn't even know if withdrawals worked. There was you didn't last long enough to test it.
Oh man!
You got to pay the tuition though. You learn a lot though. Like that. You're right. That's how you have to stay humble, because the market will teach you otherwise. Totally. You got to touch it a few times.
Yep. It's just it's also silly, right? Because unfortunately, like the market is not sophisticated enough and has not been long around enough to be able to price out some of this like side gambling that happens. Right, like Bitcoin is still like people don't know how to price Bitcoin. That ultimately, like in a bigger sort of picture level, right? Bitcoin is extremely underpriced, even for the average price of the epoch, right? Like it's extremely underpriced to have an asset that does what it does and is 16,000, well, really 15,000 and a half more than $1 in 10 years, right? Like. It's quite an achievement to have to be what it is, but it's going to be mispriced until the market understands, because the degen are not going to run out of money to lose. If anything, it's only going to get worse. I mean, like I keep on saying this, we're going to flush these guys out. Great. Yeah. Woohoo. Right.
Yeah,
but like realistically speaking, like a smarter guy with way deeper pockets than Barry just invented the next scam. Right, for crypto, right, and it's gonna be 1,000 times bigger, and it's gonna be 10,000 times more painful in the next crash, and it's gonna be like insane, right? And we're never gonna run out of that. That's how the free market works. Right? Like, I mean, you're gonna have these things. At least as we get more adoption, right? As we get more stuff, like a lot of this stuff breaks at spot, right? Because there's not going to be enough liquidity and there's going to be enough demand for spot Bitcoin, right? That's why I wanted the ETF so much for Bitcoin spot, because it helps flush out these assholes earlier, right? They're not settling in USD. They're going to have to settle in Bitcoin at the end of the day. Show me the fucking coin, right? And that breaks these guys a lot faster. They'll go play fast and loose with other shit.
Yeah, you get a bunch of leverage in the system. You get a bunch of fractional reserve bullshit, a bunch of shitcoin bullshit. Then they all get wrecked eventually. That gets washed out, and then we move up a little bit, and then we start the next cycle of the same shit at a different scale, and then that happens, and then you just keep rinsing and repeating over and over again.
And you know, Matt, it's often the same fucking people behind it, just with one or two more corporate veils behind, because they learned their lesson the first time, right? And the thing is, a lot of these guys try to do double or nothing on the second round, right? Because they lost a lot of the coin on their first scam, right? The ones who were not successful or as lucky. So then what they do is they raise a small thing and they fucking like double down the second round, you know, like with like 100x leverage, right? You look, what was it, the name of that guy, the .btc crowd, right? Munib guy, right? Like the guy lost all his shit on the previous cycle, right? And then what he does, like does a bigger scam on this cycle.
Right, came out with stacks. No, but the one difference here is the Fed tightening. And a lot of these guys did survive because of external capital, and it's finally catching up to them, and they might not survive this cycle. Now, obviously, the Fed is going to reverse course at some point, and then we'll get all the fiat bullshit infused back in again. But in the meantime, there's a lot of guys, like Barry's a perfect example. Like, he basically survived through the cycles because it was really easy for him to raise equity, because it was really easy for him to borrow money. And now all that's dried up. Even Coinbase, you know, which is a publicly traded company, has trouble borrowing money in this environment.
Yeah, but like, listen, I don't want to take away from Barry too, because he's a smart motherfucker, right? Like, he may not be the cup of tea I like, but that's a smart motherfucker who created second markets, right? Like, I mean, the guy was playing on these things that were like, you know, 1,000 times bigger than Bitcoin, right? And he was very successful at that. I think the problem is like maybe he over leveraged a little too much on this side, but somehow I think that there's absolutely no way this guy can't pull a bill out of some hole.
Guys, you're all wrong. You are all wrong. Another market cycle or two, and this shit will be completely burned the fuck out. Even Coinbase is now being investigated for securities listings. I'm sorry if you guys haven't caught
they're
up
gonna do
yet.
like the banks. They're gonna have the legislation that they want.
Yelling.
I'm sorry if you guys haven't caught up to this yet, but the end result of this FTX shit is gonna be, if you don't have a securities license or a banking license, you don't get to fucking offer services to buy and sell crypto. That's where this is fucking going. And when you get into that type of landscape, sorry, nope. There is not just going to be this wild west of insane delusional
I don't know,
scams.
man. Hertz went to all-time high when it announced
There's
bankruptcy.
going to be the cream of the crop of shitcoin land that has risen to the point where we're like, the CFTC went, Ethereum's a commodity now. A few of those things will survive because they have achieved enough of an air of legitimacy that they'll be anointed by the regulators. Outside of those few things, there will not be anywhere to fucking trade these things because the hammer is coming down.
Shinobi, FTX was the regulator darling.
We'll just go back to the good old days.
The hammer is coming down.
It'll be going back to the good old days of NIMS running things offshore.
Yeah, I mean, the fiat's a casino anyway, right?
Yeah.
Rodolfo, the Republicans just won the House. And you know the only fucking perception going on with FTX right now in Republican world? Oh, it's a money laundering machine for the Democrats. The hammer is coming down.
Until there is the laundry machine for the Republicans, and then they're going to allow it. And then it's going to inverse. And this is the clown world, guys. The shit doesn't get better. Period. Until fiat fails, this is what we're going to have.
Look, I mean, I agree with regulations probably coming down on shitcoins very hard in this environment. But before all of this, like the good old days of shitcoinery, Like, it was all offshore stuff. It was all done by NIMS. Like, all that shit's still going to exist. Like, they're just not going to be, running ads in, Times Square that cycle.
Nah, these guys are going to figure out a way to fucking like structure the shit in 50 different other ways to then go buy ads in your, on Times Square.
Dude, all those jurisdictions are just going to go, no more shenanigans here, because their own citizens and their own people get fucked by these things too.
But Shinobi, these are DAOs. They're fully decentralized, bro.
Oh, yeah. That'll protect you. Not. No.
Well, I mean, if you want a forward look here, I mean, pretty much every regulated exchange, BTC balances are down. Except for Binance. Yes. Binance's all-time high. Just hit it this morning. So, people are going to the unregulated casinos where people are going to go. It's just the reality. Yeah, it's going to happen.
China is going to have all the coins until they rug pull Binance.
No, Binance is not. The CCP hates CZ.
Yeah, that's the story that they like to put it out, maybe. I don't know. We're never going to know.
I fall in the camp where, like, CZ, you got to respect how much of a hustle this guy's got. It's like BitMEX, sure. Right? He's a cockroach of a business. They just can't kill him. It's amazing to watch.
The fact that the guys from Tether are not in jail for printing USD,
it's amazing.
It's like mind-boggling. It is incredible.
Not in jail yet.
Yeah, sure.
No, dude, stable coins have been anointed. It is an easy way to export inflation, to gain creeping influence in the financial infrastructure of other companies. Exactly. They've decided this is what we're doing. We are anointing these. We don't have to go through the hell of making a CBDC, and we fix the demand for treasuries problem. Stable coins, they're fine. They're going to be here for a long time. They are way too useful.
They're going to have to grow a lot to gobble up all those treasuries that nobody's buying.
I agree. And actually, even to another level, the Australian government's been banging on about building a CBDC for years now. And the ASX just announced $130 million write-down of their stock exchange blockchain. So, good luck to them ever launching anything. So I agree. I think that the stable coins are basically going to become the de facto CBDC. And, proof of stake makes sense in that world.
Regulators, if there was one thing that they love is not having to ship anything and just gobble up or capture, right, things that already exist. They absolutely love that play. It's a lot simpler. It's a lot less friction. That's what they did. Banks used to be independent. Guys, banks used to be able to print their own money, for fuck's sake. If you were a banker back in the day, I mean, that was kind of like the real deal, sort of like Bitcoiner style thing. And then they all got gobbled up too. I mean, banks absolutely hate CBDCs because CBDCs are the end of retail banking, right?
Yeah, they disintermediate them.
There's a lot of respect there that CZ and Tether and Bitfinex have survived this long. Also, Bitstamp, no one even talks about them. They've just somehow been around since Gox, just quietly there collecting sats. But this cycle's not over yet. We'll see if Digital Currency Group actually goes fucking down here. They might take some other people with them.
Yeah, it just has that vibe now of full capitulation. Even if they go, it's kind of hard to see where does the liquidation comes from for that to be a concern. I think now the price is really driven by fear more than it is actual coin to be sold.
I agree. Actually, I put out a tweet the other day. I think that the cycle ended in terms of the 2018, so the 2017 top through to FTX blowing up. I think that was the cycle. And it doesn't matter what the price does. In my view, it's a psychological reset, right? The way people are going to respond to this market and how we think about things has now changed, right? The veil of shitcoiner has been pulled back.
Yeah. Are you calling a bottom?
The banks are coming. The banks are fucking coming.
Yeah, that's right.
JP fucking Morgan, their response to FTX.
Checkmate, you're calling a bottom?
Can we get an official? Are you calling the bottom?
Am I calling bottom? So if we go back and look at every previous bottom, this is pretty much a textbook. I've said it before. I've said it for a couple of months now. We're crossing the T's and dotting the I's on a perfect textbook Bitcoin bottom.
Checkmate, I was trying to save you. You just told Bitcoin what it's going to do, so it's going to do the opposite.
No, Shinobi. The price is not Bitcoin.
Oh, so he called a bottom without the price involved. Yeah, okay. What a fucking cop-out.
Tough crowd.
So you guys are more sophisticated than I am with all this like rap shit and, you know, contracts in DeFi crap and all this stuff. So here's a question for you. What happens if Ethereum sort of capitulates? So you have all this wrapped Bitcoin, right? There's quite a bit of it in all these different contracts, right? My brain, my hubbub brain here cannot see which direction the Bitcoin, like where is it a buy pressure or sell pressure if Ethereum collapses on those wrapped Bitcoin?
I mean, dude, I don't think it's either. The reason it's over there is so that people can degen trade denominated in Bitcoin. If Ethereum imploded, they want their Bitcoin back.
No, but see, if the contract blows up,
it's sell pressure because people are using wrapped Bitcoin, which is held by BitGo, as collateral, and they're going to get liquidated, and they're going to have to sell assets. And if that's their collateral, then they're obviously going to have to sell that.
It's removing buy side.
If it's a shitcoin that's their collateral, the only thing they can sell is still the Bitcoin because all this other shit isn't really saleable. It's all illiquid bullshit. So then they sell the Bitcoin as well. And then on top of all this, I think this cycle has really proven that it's absolute lunacy that these guys in DeFi have their liquidation points publicly viewable by everybody. It's like if someone in TradFi told you like that fucking BlackRock or someone publicly posted at what point they get liquidated on their loans, you would think they were fucking crazy. But meanwhile, in DeFi, you can see all this shit.
Well, I mean, that's how Luna broke.
Wait, you mean like Michael Saylor? Talking about the instant he said that, it was just guaranteed. We're going there.
I mean, that was pretty dumb.
No, I'm telling you, that dude is not getting liquidated, guys.
Was that like 3,500 or something? 3,500, you said his point was?
Yeah, something like that.
No, the initial one at like 20K, they would get margin called. Like the second he said that, it was like, okay, it's done. We're going back to 20K.
Yeah, we're definitely going to 19 at that point.
Yeah, but that guy was already planning on his second buy when he said that, right? Like, you gotta give it to the guy. I mean, like, I know, like, you know, a lot of people don't like a lot of what he has to say because he's more like a regulated kind of mindset kind of guy. But, like, you gotta give it to the motherfucker, man.
He's an expert physicist.
Like,
He's
balls
an
of
expert
steel.
physicist.
Just fucking, like, gobble up, like, leverage all the fiat shit to buy more Bitcoin and with no intention of selling. Listen, he might rug pull everybody at some point.
His 0% coupon for like $1 billion is just amazing, or whatever it was, the first buy, like 300 and something million for 0% is amazing. Imagine having one of those.
You know, and doing this, you know, like risking his own shit, right? Like, it's kind of a biggie. It's nice to see. If we saw a few more of those guys out there trying to do that, the market might have responded differently.
Dude, no. Saylor is a clown. He is an idiot. And this is like exactly what you saw. It's one lone retard who ran down all of his credit to the point that he had to put Bitcoin up as collateral to get more credit to keep buying. And that's not enough to keep a market floating. Like, dude, fuck treasuries.
See, Shinobi, you should appreciate autistic people.
Fuck treasuries.
Not bash on them.
Fuck clowns like fucking Saylor. Fuck all this nonsense. Get back to me when FedEx, UPS, DHL are holding Bitcoin and accounting in Bitcoin and using that to limit their Forex risk and slippage. Get back to me when shit like that is going on. We have a new Michael Saylor fucking using his company as degen trading collateral. Who gives a shit?
Anyways, well, that was a great discussion. I'm so glad we came to an agreement. Okay, so what's the next point here?
What even started this? Aren't we in like the open source release updates?
I know, but they're like, listen, guys, okay? And I'm going to put this out with all my heart to the people out there who listen to the show for just Signal, none of this fucking price crap. Well, ship more fucking software so I have something to talk about, okay? I started this show, so I have a long fucking list. So by the time we get to the news, we're so fucking tired of talking that we just don't, okay?
To be clear,
it's not my fault.
The last 25 minutes was a tangent off of Nunchuk open sourcing their license, or where did we start?
Yes.
FTX is the FTX Chainalysis.
Yeah, it was off Dylan's tweet.
Oh, Dylan's tweet. Okay.
Okay, so let's move on from this crap to Lightning native crowdfunding grants, the Geyser.fund. I don't think we ever mentioned the Geyser.fund, so let's send people there.
Dispatch. It's Geyser.fund in your web
Yes.
browser. It's like a Patreon-esque kind of layout, and I recently put Citadel Dispatch on there. So if you enjoy that show, consider searching it and supporting the show. Really cool project.
Good stuff.
You can use your own node, super easy, connect to it, not custodial at all.
And how do the grants get decided on? You guys have a board, right, or something?
Oh, I don't know about the grants are separate, but the actual project is like just Patreon. Anyone can sign up and get their project funded.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. I gotta try this Lightning thing. Seems to be a thing.
I thought it wasn't Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, the Lightning people seem to be the people who keep on opening PRs on Bitcoin Core on things that were coming for 6 months to then say that zero confirmation is Bitcoin. So there is that.
Okay, don't put all of that on everybody. Okay, John is John. I love John, but he can be a little special sometimes.
Oh, so he can be, but Sailor can't. We need to embrace all the autism.
I wouldn't quite call what Sailor has autism. More like just a degenerate gambling addiction.
Shinobi, if you understood the complexity that guy went into to make this fucking bonds, dude.
Oh, I do.
This shit is like next level.
It was all because of his gambling addiction. It's a powerful motivator.
Hey, everything is good for Bitcoin. All right. Santander imposes limits on UK crypto exchange transactions. Sounds like banks are being assholes like usual. CashApp sold 1.76 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's really cool. And just 1 quarter, huh? That's pretty impressive on a bear. That's huge.
Yeah, it was basically the same year over year.
Yeah, down 3%.
Yeah.
Do you guys know, not Square, but CashApp versus Venmo? What's the difference? Like, is it 10x bigger? Is it 100x bigger? Volume?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know about volume, but I think user base wise, I mean, CashApp right now is at like 80 million users. I think they're close to Venmo in terms of number of users, and they're definitely way higher in the App Store ranking for whatever that means, like in financial App Store ranking.
No, I'm curious about. All I care about is volume. I don't care about the users.
Well, someone like posted on Twitter after this, because they came out with this like a couple weeks ago. Someone posted on Twitter like comparing them to Venmo, and supposedly like they report volumes differently. So it's kind of an apples and orange. But
I mean, everybody loves their volume accounting for the shareholder meeting, but like there must be at least something we can use to compare to just understand size.
Anecdotally, all my friends use Venmo, and no one really uses CashApp.
Yeah, same.
What a lot of people don't know is that like Venmo is like now I think that it's like nearly as big as like Visa for transactions. Like it's like some crazy number.
But for Bitcoin, it doesn't matter because you can buy Bitcoin and Venmo too now. So
there you go.
And you can actually withdraw, which I never thought they were going to enable, but they did.
That is great. I think there's like Bitcoiners have infiltrated every company now. It's just a matter of time.
It's not just that, like Venmo and Cash App always had the problem that there was no easy monetization path, and selling Bitcoin is a very easy monetization toggle, and that's also why Cash App added stocks, right? Because it's just a super easy way for them to monetize.
Well, I mean, before Robinhood, there really was no way to buy, like fractional stock. Like essentially, you don't own your stocks on Venmo or Robinhood. There is some entity that owns the stock, and you just have a claim to a share on that trust or whatever it's called.
Well, that's why they were able to offer fractional stocks. But just a little fun story. Like an acquaintance is the co-founder of Venmo, and I remember when he sold it to PayPal, and he like said to me, he's like, there was literally no path to monetization. My only exit possibility was PayPal. Thank God they like bought my back. that was it. It's like there was no other buyer. I had no idea how I was going to monetize. It's the only way to exit. I think now he has like a small restaurant somewhere and just like living off the funds.
Nice.
Their headache now.
Exactly.
Next. I keep on losing that tab. God damn it. I lost the tab. Complete. Oh no, I found it. Nope. Here. There you go. I'm becoming a boomer, guys.
Becoming?
Using LNsploit to steal from LND nodes. That's great.
You spelled, you had a tweet out today, you boomer, about how Digital Currency Group could fill the hole and you spelled it with a W.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting thing. You know, being ESL and dyslexic is not very like compatible with Twitter. So the edit button was very, very nice to be added in my life. You can probably like, if I had a NIM account, you could probably find it by just doing like text analysis. Like you'd show up in like a second. That's why I never tried it. All right, so LNsploit, you know, I love this automation black boxing of like a lot of exploits because it really sort of like, it gives the lower end script kiddies a way of like keeping a lot of the network honest and more secure. So that's a sign of like a maturing network market, is to have this kind of stuff. LNLink, iOS application that allows you to control a Lightning node over the Lightning network itself. This means you can connect directly to your Lightning node and control it. Oh, that's cool. U.S. attorney announces historic 3.36 billion cryptocurrency seizure. Oh yeah, man. That was, what's his name?
Loaded.
Yeah, Loaded from Bitcoin Talk.
Yeah. He actually did on Bitcoin Talk. He did a manual 40,000 Bitcoin coin join with GMAX.
Yep. So another one bites the dust. I mean, there's not a lot of those guys left.
That you know of.
Yeah, that's right. Don't use a Raspberry Pi.
No, that wasn't the issue. He gave up the secret. Whatever the secret was, it said in the court documents. They had him arrested for like 6 months, and he gave up the secret.
Oh, he gave up the keys. Well, that must have been a nice plea deal there.
They said single board computer, but you have no idea. We have no idea how he had it set up. It was definitely encrypted well. It's my guess. It seemed like he handed it over.
I mean, dude. I mean, a lot of those early days dark markets were not exactly great technology. Let's put it this way.
No, I'm well aware. I mean, he robbed Silk Road, like through like the most dumb bug ever.
He was stitched together with like duct tape.
He basically kept hitting the withdraw button over and over again, and they just kept sending him money. But the way the doc read, he handed over the secret after they had him in custody for a certain amount of time. I think it was like 6 months, 7 months. Two troubling aspects of it. The first was the U.S. government claims in it that any money that went through Silk Road is seizable because it's actually seizable from Ross, not from Loaded. So they were saying they seized it from him. They seized it from Ross. Loaded was charged with wire fraud, but they weren't seizing his money. They were seizing Ross's money.
This story is so fucking weird. They keep on trying to add more charges to the poor schmuck that's not coming out. It's so weird.
To Loaded?
No, to Ross.
To Ross, yeah.
You know, they keep on attributing stuff to, because see, normally once a guy is taken down, right, they don't want all the new stuff. They want to attribute to new people, right? Because they want to take the new people down. Like the Silk Road story is so weird because they keep on trying to attribute more stuff to Ross, even after the fact. It's very, like, he pissed off some deep state assholes so deep. Like, it's a very uncommon story, you know, including the whole parallel to the reconstruction on how they accidentally found him on a library, and the laptop cover just happened to be open, and like, boom, we got you. There was nothing to do with using, you know, Heartbleed or something else to get there.
I think there might have been parallel construction in this case too. I mean, it's always safe to assume that in these types of cases.
Yeah.
But they talked about how he accidentally reused a change address with an offshore exchange. It looked like when he was dumping his Bcash.
I love it.
My guess is it wasn't a KYC exchange. They mentioned his IP address in there, and then they used the IP address. This is their official story. I mean, parallel construction is very much a possibility.
You can almost like assume it's parallel construction and then maybe give an opening that actually happened. Like that's the way I like to the proper framework for this kind of stuff.
So for the listeners, parallel construction is when the government nabs a criminal by doing illegal things themselves without a warrant. And then after they figure out who it is, they recreate evidence using that new knowledge they have. And then that evidence is what they submit to court. So they pretend they went through legal channels.
Is it what they call the poison tree or something like that for evidence?
Exactly.
So if they acquire evidence illegally, even if the evidence is like legit, they can't use it. So what they'll do is they'll do it illegally first, and then they'll like phone up some dude, in the IT department and say, "Hey, we got the stuff illegally. So can you come up with some story in which we can prove that we found it legally?" That's kind of how they do it.
Right. They build a case after the fact. Yeah.
Governments break the law? That's just so unbelievable.
It's crazy, right?
See, Shinobi, you learn new things every day.
I know. Shinobi, as they would like to say, is we are the law.
Yep.
The thing is, though, like, you can almost assume that most things are broken and backdoored, right? So, like, software in general, and, these guys have infinite budgets.
Cold cards.
Infinite budget. No, you verify it. That's why, seriously, don't trust us. Of course. That's the whole fucking point. These guys have infinite budgets, right, to go after this stuff. Imagine the effort these guys... Imagine how many heartbleeds are there for OpenSSL. If you ever looked into OpenSSL, you'd understand. Or USB, right? Like how much is out there that these guys would never show to the world that they got it, right? Because it's their special box for when there is a WMD somewhere. So what they would do, though, in a special case like Ross, is that they'll go there, they'll use it quietly, and then they'll tell the FBI, "Hey, listen, guys, look, here's the evidence. We cannot tell you how we got it. Now come up with a story." This is how it works. There is a great presentation by HPK, the FreeBSD guy, from 2014.
Operation Orchestra.
Exactly, Operation Orchestra. The amount of effort that these guys go into, just on the social level, to break things. So, when somebody wants to say, "Hey, Bitcoin cannot have a blacklist because that's bad," that's to waste everybody's time and try to put a bug when nobody's looking. You look at Mike Hearn. I mean, Mike Hearn was the guy who put the backdoor on Gmail, right? Allegedly.
Wait, isn't Gmail have a front door?
What?
I mean, I know Hearn was a spook, but doesn't Gmail just have a front door?
He worked in the department that handled securing inter-data center connections before he started working on Bitcoin. And right after he left, big surprise, the NSA and the GCHQ hacked Google through the systems connecting between their data centers. Coincidence.
So, I just find it funny because, like, it's not like you don't have to put a tinfoil on. I mean, like, there is a department with like tens of thousands of people with infinite budget and the largest amount of mathematicians on earth working full time. To do what? Like, there's Sudoku? No, I mean, like, these guys are trying to break shit all day. These guys, and then there is all this shit where they like just go and become like shareholders in companies, and then they essentially probably just gobble them up, like the Swiss company that did the encryption libraries for everybody.
Crypto AG.
That's just how it works.
And the guys that do all the text message verification for like every service.
That's right. Anyways, moving on. Shane Zong pled guilty to...
This is loaded.
Wire fraud. Oh, that's the same guy.
That's his doc's name, but he's
He
loaded
had 25 of those Kasekius coins too, the physical Bitcoin.
Oh.
That's a big loss.
Those keys were all trusted private keys, and he held on to them. He held on to them for fucking 10 years, completely trusting them, and then got rugged anyway.
It's crazy, right? So we've added, because the U.S. government now is a hodler, again, with more Silk Road coins. So we've added them to Bitcoin treasuries at, I think, 250K coins or something like that.
Yeah.
Once they sell it, we're going to find out and we'll update accordingly. They are a public traded company, essentially. So yeah, taxpayers have a claim on that.
They're going to hang that auction over our head for a while. It's just going to be constant FUD for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anybody who's going to spend the spot price on that at auction, right, is not selling for at least like an epoch, right? Nobody's going to go through the trouble of buying Silk Road coins on an auction to sell for an extra 10% when it bumps up, right? So it's a good thing. We know 250K coins are not going to be sold until the next all-time high.
And they're the cleanest coins, straight from the feds.
They are the cleanest coins.
Cleanest coins.
Fuck you both. It's not even worth joking about.
Dude, I mean, come on. You think the government's going to give you those coins without polishing them up nice and clean before they hand them off?
Yeah, they're physical. Why wouldn't you?
They're sanctioned coins. Somebody should actually make a tap. I'll exchange your olfact coins for bought Silk Road coins. That would be a fun tap to run.
I think Tim Draper's still holding the old Silk Road coins that he won in the auction.
Draper is not selling, man.
All I can say is there's Bitcoiners out there that are like, the U.S. government should adopt a policy where they don't sell this Bitcoin. I mean, if any policy that we should advocate for, it should be any seized coin gets burned. Because if you give, they already have the broken incentive, but you give the government, especially a government that's poor in Bitcoin and doesn't have Bitcoin, you give them incentive to take their own citizens' Bitcoin. And, I mean, like I said, it's already there because we have civil asset forfeiture and they're like, law enforcement's like funding their operations with citizens' money. But it gets dark really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, like proof of burn would be great, but like if we expected politicians to do good things, I mean, we wouldn't even bother starting Bitcoin to begin with. So
we could have just required them to custody with FTX and it would have solved the problem.
Yeah, I mean, politicians, hope in politicians is an oxymoron.
Wait, one more thing. I forget which government it was. It was a European government.
Bulgaria.
Oh, no, not that one. There was one where they thought they seized the coin. Oh, it happened with Harman, too, where they thought they seized the coin, but they didn't actually have the private key, so they didn't actually sweep it, and then it just got swept underneath them.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's going to take a little while for the fiat system to die. There is 8 billion people that still depend on it. So there's a little bit of inertia. All right. Bitcoin miner Stronghold Digital completes that structuring. Okay, well, that's interesting.
I mean, this is painful too. 26,000 miners. I mean, imagine getting handed a bunch of ASICs, which are immensely unprofitable, and saying, there you go. There's your debt repayment.
There you go.
Have fun.
Worthless collateral.
Just
Yeah,
ridiculous.
That's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
No, like this is the part that I never understood about people taking miners as collateral. Like you can't just take miners. I mean,
what you gotta do, just plug them into your wall.
the miner part nowadays is the easiest part. Like having energy contracts, like your substation and everything else is kind of the problem. What are you going to do? Sell at auction for like a tenth?
It's not always about running them. You hold on to them, wait for the price to turn around, and the value of the ASIC increases accordingly.
Yeah, but simultaneously you'll get new miners come out and make them obsolete. Like you're basically holding a time bomb.
That's not the case anymore. Like the improvements are not that drastic. There are still profitable S9s running on flare gas wells out there.
Now imagine just like the dude in charge in the data center of picking which miners gets sent to NightDig. Ooh, that one looks a little black. That one goes. That one looks a little black. That one goes. Ooh, look at that one. The mice ate the wires. That one goes. It must have been like the prime batch.
This is the first cycle we really saw ASIC collateralized loans. And there was just tons of risk added on top. People just were not really thinking about them when they were issuing these loans. And including like a lot of these miners did the loans in SPV vehicles and stuff. Like they would separate the loans from their actual business so they could default on them really easily. Obviously the collateral is, significantly less at the time that they actually need to seize the collateral. So I wouldn't be like next cycle we're just gonna see way less of this. Like this is a one cycle boom bust that people will just not go that crazy.
I don't agree.
Wait, Shinobi doesn't agree?
I don't see it as fundamentally. I don't see it as fundamentally different than collateralizing loans with Bitcoin. The underlying collateral is very volatile. The only
Shinobi,
complexity
there
is
is operation risk.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is the best collateral that humanity has ever had.
If you hold the ASIC, if it's still functional, it will rebound when the price of Bitcoin rebounds within some
Provided
multiple.
that he can find a place to stick it.
Not if difficulty goes
They
up.
can sell it to people who can find that place to stick it.
Listen, the second market of miners is at a lot of a discount.
It's the same fundamental dynamic, and the added complexity and the operational cost and risk. While it is added complexity, it's not like universes of more complexity versus Bitcoin itself.
I mean, the way to think about it is that an ASIC is essentially a physical option, right? So the option doesn't trade the same as the underlying. The option has leverage built into it.
Yeah.
There's carry costs, there's logistics. It's a different system. It's a derivative. So yes, it's correlated, but it's derivative.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing that I've been seeing a lot is there's a lot of FUD about hash rate being now like it's more expensive to mine. It's all like these guys don't understand mining. I mean, like most miners with decent size of operation are mining it still like fucking 5K a coin. Like miners that they have like healthy quality operations, a decent size, are all making a fuck ton of money still.
I mean, dude, look at flare gas miners.
It's all weird to me. And the power contracts are the same. So it's not like you can turn it off. It's all fixed contracts. So it's all so
And
weird.
that's something I think a lot of people don't understand is that you've got the CapEx and the OpEx, right? So once you've already spent the CapEx, just run the fucking things until your OpEx blows out. So their margins collapse at that point. It doesn't make sense to buy new miners, but the OpEx.
Unless you're buying them at a discount from NightDig.
Flare gas mining, it is effectively almost free energy. Like that will be a viable strategy for like forever. It's literally almost free. Like you have it, the energy's there. It's going to be wasted if you don't plug it in. Half the time you literally get paid through some form of subsidy or not to consume it. Like who gives a shit what the price is? There is insane amounts of wasted energy like that everywhere. If the price gets low enough, then people will just move out of arrangements with grid providers and seek out more sources like that. Like the flare gas miners I know are some of the fucking happiest people on earth. Like crash it, give me more ASICs. I have wells out there I can deploy to that I don't have the hardware for yet. Give it to me.
And I mean, like hash price is at all-time low on BTC and USD, and yet difficulty's at all-time high. And this is why I love when people are like, Bitcoin security is going to fail. It's like, well, can you show me on the chart which part of it's failing? Because at the moment, it looks like it's at fucking all-time high with all-time low revenue.
Look, at the end of the day, any of these entities that issued ASIC collateralized loans are absolutely wrecked right now, and most of them are going out of business.
Yeah. Well, I think there is a lot of consolidation too. Like it's not like an out of business kind of thing. It's more like it gets gobbled up. I know some miners that sort of essentially just spent the last 6 months buying out smaller miners and acquiring essentially the staff, taking the gear, taking the contracts, like you're just going to see more consolidation. And I've said this for maybe like over 10 years now, that mining is a marginal business that, like you're going to see either the biggest players or the smallest sort of hobbyist players. Everybody in the middle gets squeezed.
Yeah, no, we definitely see this, right? Because like when you look at miner balances, they were increasing since like 2019. They started stacking sats after the plus token Ponzi blew up, but their balance went sideways for about 40K. When we had that first sell-off, basically January, year to date, things started going sideways. And then as we now get down below 20K, this is when they're actually liquidating, right? Selling like 8,000 BTC over the last week. So there's certainly that top portion, right? The most inefficient, they're getting wrecked. But as you mentioned, there's going to be folks down there mining at 12K and, increasingly lower prices.
5.
Yeah.
5K.
Yeah, it's a spectrum.
I knew somebody mining at 3, just like about Miami conference time. There is folks out there that know what they're doing, and they just sort of like laugh it off, like they just let sort of like the ones that are on the spotlight sort of like do their thing, right? There's a lot of people that are doing well. And they are helping other smaller players too. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff going on, but none of it will be public. All right. The Orange Pill app launches. App geared towards connecting local Bitcoiners in real life, called Orange Pill, just launched Pacific Bitcoin. Do you guys know anything about this app?
Nope. Sounds to me like An awesome honeypot, though.
I mean, in a way, everything is a honeypot.
So my understanding is like the main focus is connecting people with like local meetups and local Bitcoin communities.
Cool. I mean, to be honest, like I wish there was a Orange Peel app that was the simplest Bitcoin wallet, SPV, on a phone with BIP39, and it came with like buttons for you to just get a video or like, you know what I mean, like very basic education so that when you get...
This is not that app.
No. And I wish it was called the Orange Peel app and it existed 10 years ago. But anyways.
I don't love the term orange pill. Am I alone?
I love it.
Is that a controversial statement?
You don't like it?
Yeah, I don't mind it. What don't you like about it?
I mean, it sounds like you're drugging someone. It's like a roofie.
It is kind of a one-way street, though.
Matt, maybe you're projecting.
I guess it is a controversial statement.
Ledn discloses a Ledn relationship with Alameda. Those are our local boys. Everybody that does Bitcoin loans probably got fucked by Alameda.
Do you think they're going to survive this cycle?
I think they will. You know, they're ethical people with their heart in the right place. I think they will.
Sorry, do you have a banking license? No, you can't give out Bitcoin loans.
No, they're fully integrated, right? These guys are banked. These guys are regulated. You know, it's not like I'm not concerned about that.
I mean, dude, I've said this for like the last 5 years, and each year I have become more and more confident this is how it's going to go. All of the local businesses in this space that started in this space are fucked. It's all fly-by-night, immature, crazy, risky shit. They are going to implode. The banks are going to come in, and you will have a binary choice. Do you want to go try and figure out how to get Bitcoin and cash somewhere, or sign up for your new JP Morgan fucking Bitcoin account? Like, it's done deal.
How long have I been saying this, Shinobi? TD is going to offer TD Bitcoin, and you're going to have your fucking Bitcoin right under your like goddamn savings account, and they're going to charge you a fee for you to have that account there, and it's going to be IOU Bitcoin. And that's going to be essentially all the customers from Coinbase. They're going to migrate to their just banking, their normal banking.
Yep.
There's two different things here. First of all, there's the yield products, the quote unquote yield products, where pretty much everyone who has offered those is going out of business this cycle, it seems like. Then there's the Bitcoin collateralized loans, which I would say the exception to that rule that Shinobi just said is Unchained Capital, who did not rehypothecate by design and used multi-sig so you could verify it yourself. And they were extremely over collateralized. They did it in a responsible way, and it's finally proving its point in the market when everyone said they were crazy to not try and compete with BlockFi. By the way, I just wanted to thank Shinobi for not jumping in when NVK said his statement, because I wanted a nice clean cut for if Ledn goes down. Now we have that nice clean Roger Ver style cut there.
Hey, listen, I have no access to their books. I'm not an investor. I'm not like, you know.
This bit's not going to make it in the clip, mate. You're fucked.
You know, they're just local guys. I think the problem is like the yield shit is always been retarded. I mean, the yield has to come from somewhere. They actually had very low yield offers, so they were losing business to all the scammers, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? They all do. That's the natural rate.
I think the problem with Unchained is that Unchained needs to find lower cost of capital because their loans are just too expensive. Listen, if you're planning on keeping a loan open, right, for say 2-3 years, right? So an epoch. The issue with that is that you're going to end up paying the equivalent of selling at the previous all-time high with tax. What people are trying to hedge these loans is tax.
Dude, here's what it will happen to this space, like the loan space. It's this fucking simple. Mining, lightning nodes. Those are the only air quote safe and air quote predictable sources of yield on Bitcoin denominated in Bitcoin. End of story. If that business model survives, those are the only two sources of yield that will be a core part of those services. And if they try anything else, it's dead.
We keep flipping between two different products. What what MVK was just talking about was on the interest rate on the loan side.
That's right.
When you use Bitcoin as collateral, and I just wanted to add something here. The problem with getting those rates down is the liquidity on the fiat lending side, and the problem is this. No, but this is the problem. The problem is Bitcoin is amazing collateral. It's over collateralized, these loans. You can liquidate them instantly. When you need to do them. There's pretty much no risk to the fiat lender. But the problem is only Bitcoiners realize that. So the non-Bitcoiners don't want to lend that money because they think Bitcoin's going to go to zero and it's bad collateral. And then the Bitcoiners don't want to lend that money.
No, but you can sell before it goes to zero.
Wait, and the Bitcoiners don't want to lend that money because they could buy Bitcoin instead, and they think they can outperform the 10% that you get for the loan. And that's why those rates are so high.
That business model is not safe either. I got you, Matt. I'm flipping back and forth between two different models here. But that type of business model is exposed to the exact same kind of risk that blew up FTX.
No.
How big does the market? How big does the fucking market get? Because you have to be able to liquidate that collateral in a systemic price crash. And think about it. Everybody has outstanding loans. Everybody has Bitcoin as collateral. Can the market actually support liquidating all of that collateral quick enough? Ignoring
I'm gonna mute
slippage.
Shinobi.
If
there you go.
If that market gets too big, it can easily implode in huge price drives down.
There's a solution to this, though.
Why.
All you got to do is post your liquidation levels on chain.
Yes.
It solves all these problems.
Listen, Shinobi, what they do is because they have this big gap of margin, right? When they liquidate you, the market, it's still not like dumping. And even if it dumped, they still have, say, on Unchained's case, they still have 60% of gap there to get you like liquidated.
But you're sitting here trying to analyze individual companies and specific products instead of the overall market dynamic. The outstanding total value of loans is X, and they have Y Bitcoin collateral. If the price crashes too fast, can they liquidate the collateral to cover the outstanding loan?
It's proven so far that they can.
Don't liquidate it, just stack sats.
If that grows too big in proportion to market liquidity, the answer is no. So I'm not saying like those products or these specific companies aren't safe or aren't managing risk to the best of their ability and responsibility.
Nothing is safe.
I'm saying in the abstract, that model can only scale so much before continuing to grow starts creating systemic risk.
Anyways, nothing is safe. That's the thing, right? Like each of these sort of offerings is going to have like, quite a bit of risk, and they will have like, like their risk profile, right? With Unchained, at least the contract is like really states that, like, as far as I can remember, like maybe I'm wrong, but if I remember right, they don't have a claim on that Bitcoin until your loan defaults. Okay, it's like a lien, essentially, right? So they can't just stake it. Like it's not like that would be stealing.
No, I'm saying in the point of liquidation, like a cascading liquidation event.
Yeah, the market could be tricky. That's why companies that want to do things like that are going to need to have proper hedges.
Like just step back and acknowledge that I am correct.
I can't hear you, Shinobi.
That if the float of outstanding loans exceeds the...
Can you guys hear Shinobi? I think we have a connection problem.
Yeah, his internet must have gone out.
That's right.
Fuck you, Rodolfo. Fuck you.
You are correct to a certain extent. It's just that for you to be like effectively correct, it means that you have to be the majority of the market.
Wales just scored in the 81st minute. It's 1-1 now.
So, okay. BitMax.
Soccer.
BitMax provides a snapshot of proof of reserves. Proof of reserves is weird, right? Because it's like I'm of two minds on this. It's like it's a nice thing to have. It's a cool thing because we have now digital assets that you could do that. But at the same time, it's like it's like you fill up the account, you take a picture, and then you can empty it out kind of thing.
True Tether style, right? Early days Tether where you just fill up the bank account and be like, here it is.
So look, proof of reserves is obviously not foolproof. The only foolproof safety is actually holding your own keys and withdrawing, and everyone should do that. It's obviously a net benefit. Now, we have seen different exchanges play funny games like that. I will say Hoseki released a pretty cool product, and what's cool about it is it just uses regular signed...
Chill it, Matt. Chill it.
It just uses regular signed messages, but because it's one centralized database, they make sure that no one is double counting Bitcoin, right? So if you take credit for an address, if you take credit for those funds, they're watching those funds and not allowing another entity to take credit for it for, I think they made a limit of 60 days or something like that, which does add another element to that.
And I think that the biggest takeaway from proof of reserves for me, because the problem is you can't show the liabilities, right? You can only show the assets. However, what you do is by exposing those addresses, at least people can see when funny games are being played. So, it'll take time, but at least it's more visible than it was.
You can probabilistically show liabilities. It just depends on a high enough percentage of the people with those liabilities actually checking it, like the Merkelized proofs of all outstanding account balances. And I think BitMEX actually a year or two ago proposed like randomly fuzzing individual liabilities and breaking them up into multiple buckets so that you can actually have some degree of privacy in checking your liabilities, but it's not like all one lump sum.
Yeah, but what happens if you're pledging your stock, like your shares of your company, right? That have a claim to that BTC that's been proven to be sitting there.
Well, that's the whole idea. Like you publish the Merkle tree of all the outstanding liabilities, like privacy optimization.
The liabilities are not
you
digital.
Publish the roots, and then you send to the individual customers like their path in the Merkle tree. And that's what I mean. It counts on people actually checking that and calling bullshit.
Most of the liabilities are not digital. They are contract, meat space contract. You can't digitize that.
You can digitize any liability. It's a path in a Merkle tree that goes, here's a liability of X to entity, whoever the fuck.
So
and
what
it
if you
just counts on everybody checking that, and if they see something off, they publish it. You can do the aggregate.
You can't.
You
like,
can do
if you have,
value.
You can create corporate structures that you can't do what you're talking about.
Value aggregations with accumulators in the damn Merkle tree and show the sums.
Stop talking blockchain. Okay, blockchain doesn't resolve corporate structure.
ASICs on the blockchain as
ASICs on the blockchain.
ASICs on the blockchain.
I'm gonna nut check you the next time I see you.
All right, Gemini earn liquidity issues. So that was an interesting one. So yeah, another yield product. I mean, you cannot have yield if you don't have suckers to take the yield from.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things where lots of earned products went through Genesis, and then Genesis lends it out to trading desks, and they take a spread and a cut the whole way through. But if they lose the coins, where's your yield? It's zero. And this is the thing, right? People are risking 100% to earn 2%. It's wild.
I like to think that like number go up means count doesn't need to go up. Like you can resolve a lot of the interest problems by just having a currency that, it is finite supply, so that, price goes up. If anything, you need less of a count, right?
Yeah, number go up should be sats per month.
BlockFi when the next wave of noobs enter the space. Yield is back on the menu, boys.
Oh, it's gonna come. Like you can't, you have 8 billion people in the world that got used to the idea that the money value goes down, so you need to make money count go up, right? This is ultimately the problem. It's like you just have, a lot of inertia on something. Like, this is a fiat problem. And it's going to take decades to, re-educate people into understanding that you don't need the count to go up in order for your value go up. Interest it really is a function of this crap. I mean, and it's kind of weird, right? Because I still think interest is a great thing if you're trying to invest in a company and trying to get them to build something of value. It's not to remove this kind of lending, or at least you can get dividends too if you want to really make interest illegal. But it's all stupid. fiat problems.
But at the end of the day, like the difference between those two is that the users of these yield products have no idea what the source of the yield is. They have no idea the risk that they're taking. Whereas if you're investing in a business for looking for ROI, I mean, unless you're invested in FTX, you do your background research, right? So you're making an investment looking for the ROI, but these earn products, I mean, no one knows where the hell this yield comes from, and that's the problem.
No, I mean, like, when you have to ask where the yield comes from is you.
Welcome to the poker table.
You just deposited the yield that goes to the next person. It's called a Ponzi. Or a Ponzi ask for the people out there who gets very anal about the Ponzi definition.
And sorry, that's the other thing we mentioned before about the FTX thing, but I mean, the scale to which nobody did any due diligence on this company, like after throwing like $200 million funding rounds at these guys, it's amazing to see.
You know, Checkmate, my view on this is that everybody did look under the hood. And they're like, you know what? This is going to run for long enough for me to make a killing and then I get out in time.
It's very possible.
There is absolutely no way these players didn't. And the biggest firms there, he was an investor in those funds. So it was really just money laundering anyways. It was a big laundromat.
So I think there is a good amount of people who just looked at their liquidation system and honestly thought that was a sane or like innovative thing, as opposed to just insanity that would inevitably implode on itself.
And then in combination, saw everyone else who'd already done their due diligence, and then that was enough for them.
Yep. All right. Apollo Sats, write reviews for products and earn Sats for doing it. Sounds like a helping hands for Sats. Okay. Cool, Bitcoin. Oh, so what was it? Yesterday or something, kind of annoyed that like all we see is doom. So I asked on Twitter like for people to post things they're working on. Maybe it was last week. I can't remember. There on the show notes, there's going to be a link to a post by me. Check out some of the cool stuff that people are working on, from growing heirloom
Tomatoes,
pumpkins, all the way to I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff people working on. It was just a fun little thread. We've already talked about the mempool stuff. The Bitcoin Uptech notes are on there. I'm not gonna go through them. I am sort of like sick of Bitcoin Core a little bit due to the mempool RBF discussion. It's kind of idiotic, but whatever. I do appreciate though that I can't quite tell if we're being spammed or if there is enough people who actually don't want it. There's just a lot of people I have never seen before commenting out of nowhere. So, you know, normally if even if I don't like it, if something is controversial enough, it's probably not a good idea to merge it. But it still like feels like all these people just want zero conf and don't understand what that means.
I was at the point where I was just going to leave it off just because there's no good reason to flip it on right now. But then John gave me a very good reason to turn it on.
Yep.
To just annoy the shit out of him.
Yeah, there's definitely a Streisand effect to it. I just wanted to add, I mean, first of all, I'm going to have Sergey from Bitrefill on Citadel Dispatch tomorrow, who's, you know, on the opposite side of the RBF camp as me. And we're going to talk through it. I think he's a very reasonable individual when it comes to these kind of conversations, so I'm looking forward to that. But, I mean, the key here is that it's a mempool policy for your own personal mempool, and it's a toggle that... it's a toggle that's off by default. So the user has to go in and toggle it on. No, it isn't.
No. It's going to be on by default.
It's just putting the toggle in. It's putting the flag in.
Yes.
Okay, dude, stop right now, Rodolfo. It's off by default.
No, it was 6 months from now. It's going to be turned on. I can't remember.
It's off by default and has to manually be configured. I literally argued with Sergey about this and like showed him the line of code.
It's default off.
Where it's default off. He was still arguing with me.
I could swear that this was going to be default on.
No, the opt-in RBF in the wallet will be default on.
Which is the important part to this whole conversation.
Oh,
but
I see.
The full RBF mempool policy is off by default.
Yeah, so it makes it even more idiotic.
And no, I love how like Nifty's solution to this argument was, well, why does the average user even have a mempool? Why don't they just turn off their mempool altogether?
No, bad, Nifty, bad.
Love it. I love like this is clearly a bear market argument on Bitcoin Core. You know, if it was a high fee environment, nobody would be talking about no RBF. It really is just because there's not a lot of transactions in the mempool.
It's been busy lately.
We should be encouraging everybody to use RBF.
It's been busy lately. I mean, first Binance dumped like 12 sat per byte, like thousands of 12 sat per byte transactions. But with this current volatility, it's been actually showing at least some signs of life. I mean, it's not a sustained high fee market, but...
No, I mean, like...
Blocks are full.
I truly believe that like Lightning is starting to take some of the load off with like people just fucking around.
Nah, it's just people. It's people either hodling or using custodial services. It's custodial services and hodling.
I mean, to be honest, when you see the amount of people withdrawing coins at the moment, it's unreal. So there's shitloads of withdrawal transactions floating around alongside all of Binance's wallet management. So it's massive.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, Checkmate. There's no way to prove this 100%, but my gut says that we are at all-time high self-custody in the history of Bitcoin, which is amazing.
Yes. By some magnitude. In fact, across pretty much across every single wallet cohort, all the way up to Whales, it's like all-time high ballistic 30-day change in supply. So it's just hockey sticking. So the only one that isn't is Whales and miners. So they're kind of in between, neutral to down. Miners are getting just puking coins.
Well, like, remember, right? A lot of these exchanges, the whales are the market makers, right? Essentially, the exchanges, say, hey, bring your coins here, leave them there as liquidity, and, we'll pay you, whatever. That's how you market make a new exchange. I mean, the twins use their shit to start Gemini. You can't start an exchange without somebody putting up like a lot of coin. And you can't even sustain an exchange without, having a way of putting in liquidity.
Well, anyway, I mean, I know it sucks that like a bunch of people lost a bunch of money, but I have to say, like, the move to self-custody to me seems like one of the most bullish events we've seen, maybe definitely since the Chinese mining ban, but maybe even bigger than that.
No, I agree. Bring back spot-driven markets. Like, I'm super keen. And actually, I was thinking about this the other day. I always get tomatoes thrown at me saying on-chain is wizardry. But, what we're essentially seeing is even trading firms, right, who just saw their coin balance go to zero, or they lost 50% or 25%, the probability that any prudent trading firm will be pulling their profits off exchanges on a regular basis and just like keeping their actual stored funds on-chain, which essentially is going to mean that the signal we can pull from this stuff is going to be even higher. So yeah, I think the move to self-custody is great, and I think spot-driven markets are back on the menu.
But remember, right, like the people that got the most hurt by FTX were hedge funds and like entities that, they were just trading and they were keeping the profits there because, they don't want to self-custody and stuff. So
that's my understanding, is that actually a huge portion, the majority portion of FTX's client list were institutions and trading desks.
That's right. And it makes sense. I mean, like, if you are an entity that does, have those needs, right, for liquidation or whatever it is, like keeping a balance in a system that's very, like, I mean, I don't know for myself, but apparently their tech was actually good, right? I mean, it was running on Vapor, probably why it was so good. So there was no actual coin being managed.
No, it was wrecked. Like, this is what I was saying earlier. Like, their air quote tech is the liquidation strategy.
No, which is you're not understanding what I'm saying, Shinobi. What I meant is they're like, when you're talking like via API, right, with this exchange trade agents, right? Like a lot of them like have lags or they don't execute the thing in time and shit like that. The FTX stuff was supposedly very good, right? It was always up, and it was always working. So I think a lot of people started to trust this entity more than themselves to hold the balance, right, that they needed for operations. And that's why so many of these were like, legitimate institutions.
I don't think that was the case, though. I mean, I never used FTX, but I saw a lot of traders complaining about issues with like trade execution and whatnot. The argument is that Alameda had quicker trade execution by design. I mean, they could also see like all their trades.
Yeah, well, probably not as much as Coinbase, which just goes down, price goes up. Totally kosher, not illegal at all. Are we gonna address that the orgy video that was supposed to drop with the liquidity condoms or whatever?
Oh, you mean the malware setup?
Yeah, didn't a bunch of people get wrecked?
Oh, amazing! Seriously?
Yeah, so people went to go and download it, and it just nuked their browser.
Yeah, people got their NFTs and shit right.
Holy shit, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's right. There was a bunch of bored apes. And that's the thing, right? So the whole Web3 element, imagine plugging your wallet into every website. I mean, it's just the worst idea ever.
It's idiotic.
It is. It just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, the browser is remote code execution by design.
Hey, dude, Specter
mean,
went from physical access to browser exploit in a year.
Yeah, no, it's brutal. What else? Okay, so dude was just listening to Oliveira talk about BIP 324 V2 P2P transport protocol for Bitcoin Core. He wanted us to talk more. I haven't sort of read too much about it, but it's essentially like encrypted peer-to-peer comms between Bitcoin Core, which is fantastic because Bitcoin Core is like, I mean, it took a while to even have a password for RPC. So like people used to get robbed on Bitcoin Core by just being on the internet. So this is awesome. Having like everything in Bitcoin should be like encrypted. And this is a huge upgrade for privacy and security. Nobody's going to talk about it because everybody agrees.
I haven't followed like the most recent versions, but like the original spec that Schnelly pushed a couple years ago, like after talking to Peter and Greg, very like solidly designed and layered system, like just opportunistic end-to-end encryption for all nodes. So that's covered. But then also the optionality to have identified and verified peering. So like your node would have like a static key, and I could tell my node, like if Rodolfo's disappears, like always connect to his, like I can verify it's your node and not a random node.
Guys, for this, they dropped the verification component.
That's a great thing. Mm-hmm. Webs of trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, instead of sending clear text
God
traffic,
damn it.
it's encrypted, but there's no verification component.
They need to build that out over time again, because that is a huge useful feature just for like, imagine like block relay, like miners can verify like they're connecting to a specific well-connected node. Light clients, that's a mechanism to piggyback. So like if I'm Uncle Jimming off your node, I know 100% nothing funny happened, nothing got intercepted. I open my wallet again, like that's still Rodolfo's node and not anything else.
Yep.
Like,
with Electrum SPV, even though it's not really encrypted, it's like, it's nice. It feels fuzzy inside to have a safe list, of people I connect to. I like that idea of having a whitelist and also have a blacklist of things I don't want to connect to. I think we should expose that more to the UI. That would be a nice thing to have, especially if now you have encryption between them. I'd like that. I hope we answer your question. Fambate USA. Competitions, Legends of Lightning. It's some competition October 7th, all the way to December 7th. It's on the show notes. Events upcoming. Africa Bitcoin Conference in Ghana, December 5th to 7th. We have a bunch of links at the end there. Oh, I wanted to mention this time. We are testing value for value. So if people like it, we know that is like economically very little, but it is a lot of fun to receive those sats on the app. I'm not going to deny, even if it doesn't buy a whole beer. It's still like it again, it's one of those things, just fuzzy feeling inside, right? Like it's like people appreciated the show. So and now Matt is in the rope there too, so he gets some
One of the
sats.
cool parts about podcasting 2.0 is there's radical transparency with it. You can see the split. So all the listeners will see that you shortchanged me at 10%.
Oh, that's cool. So Matt is at 10%. Maybe we'll increase his funding as he becomes a more reliable
If you
guest.
like this show, don't send sats to the show. Just send sats to
The Bitcoin Review podcast.
so that I get the full cut, and then we rug MVK.
We're gonna beep the name of the show. Then it's a good way of resolving this. We can let you talk completely, but not say the name of the show. So beep it, Johnny. So guys, I really appreciate having you all here. This was a lot of fun. It was a shorter software list, so I apologize to people listening when we talk about all the shit that doesn't matter to Bitcoin. But we're just a bunch of people here that like to talk to each other. So any final thoughts, Checkmate?
No, man, that's good. Look, I think Odell, you've had the advice for a long time. Stay humble, stack sats, and Bitcoin's probably humbled a good chunk of you from last couple of weeks, but it's going to survive. It'll make it, and hang in there.
Shinobi, any final thoughts?
Yeah, if you expect to get any sats from me, there better be some hardware in the mail, motherfucker.
There is always hardware in the mail to you, Shinobi. Matt, any final thoughts aside from send all the sats to this show?
On the event side, December 8th, we're launching the Tennessee Beef Initiative at Bitcoin Park. So if you're in the Nashville area, it's going to be a really great event. We're going to have a cattleman's feast with local rancher beef. It'll just be a good time. A lot of good education. December 8th at Bitcoin Park.
What's the date again?
You can go to bitcoinpark.co. It redirects to the meetup page for now because it's a bear market.
Nice.
And we haven't built a web page yet, but all the information's there.
I've heard they have a lot of block clocks there.
We do have a lot of block. I'm recording from Bitcoin Park right now. We have all the varieties, all the varieties of clock.
Thank you so much, guys. This was an absolute pleasure. I hope to have you all again. Checkmate, I think Johnny may have reached out to you to do an episode on chain analysis and all that good stuff. I'm very curious to get a little bit more in depth in there and see if we can learn something about Mayo astrology.
For sure.
And really, really looking forward to that. Shino, nice chatting with you. It's been a while, man. And Matt, thanks for coming again.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Penis.
Thanks for listening and going through another boring list of updates once again. Don't forget to get in touch on Twitter at Bitcoin Review HQ or the Telegram Bitcoin Review Pod or email bitcoinreview@coinkite.com. Remember, I don't have a crystal ball, so if you have a cool project you're working on, do make sure to get in touch with us. And if you're still not bored, you can follow me on Twitter at NVK.